Patron, we craft our tequila using high-quality natural ingredients without additives. No sweeteners, no extracts, no secrets. In fact, Patron's secret ingredient is that we have no secret ingredients. Just 100% additive-free tequila, made with 100% Weber Blue Agave, water, and thyme. Patron, 100% additive-free tequila. Visit patrontequila.com to learn more. The perfect way to enjoy Patron is responsibly. Copyright 2025, imported by Patron Spirits Company, Coral Gables, Florida. Tequila 40% ABV.
This episode is brought to you by Peacock. The new Peacock original documentary, Matthew Perry, A Hollywood Tragedy, dives deep into the beloved actor's rise to fame and his tragic death. 5 people, including Perry's personal assistant, 2 medical doctors, and an alleged Hollywood drug dealer known as the Ketamine Queen, were charged with conspiracy to illegally provide Perry with the ketamine. Explore the details of the case in this heartbreaking special, streaming now only on Peacock.
The Dental Download podcast is your source for insight from conversations with fellow dentists, specialists, and leaders in the industry. With new episodes every Monday morning, I'm your host, Dr. Haley. Let's get into this week's episode. Hello, everyone. Happy Monday. It is a Friday when I'm recording this, so it's my day off. It's extremely windy outside, and I'm set up like right next to the window. So if it's a little bit of background noise, I apologize. But as you can tell by the title of this week's episode, I felt a little bit inspired to just share some recent thoughts and motivation that I've been kind of coming to terms with myself in regards to what I feel is part of our, see, that's the wind. Hopefully it's not too disruptive. I apologize. I can't control the weather, unfortunately. But what I was saying is that hopefully this can share some motivation for you for something that I personally feel is part of our responsibility as healthcare providers, is ourselves to be good role models for our patients. Obviously, we're not going to be perfect, and depending where you work in healthcare, it can be even more rigorous and demanding and stressful. So it's even harder to take care of yourself, which is a problem with the system as a whole. But specifically for dentists, I think we are, generally speaking, many of us are in a position where we do have a bit more flexibility to make healthy lifestyle choices. So being a good role model for our patients in that regard is kind of what we're going to talk about today, and ways that I personally have started to work on this, very, very small ways, things that I'm planning to work on, and overall just some of my thoughts so that you can work on defining for yourself what being healthy is. And if you want to make any changes in your own lifestyle over time, and maybe this can give you some ideas of little ways to start working towards your own goals. So often you've heard different cliches or common sayings like lead by example, treat others how you would want to be treated, honesty is the best policy, do unto others as you would have them do unto you. All of these are very overly used common sayings, pretty much getting at the same point of, hey, be a good person and be the type of person that you would want to have around. And also be upfront with people, be direct, be clear. And I think all of that is, again, in my opinion, part of our responsibility as dentists. So as dentists, I've said it before on the subject of treatment planning, treatment plan acceptance is that concept of honesty. We are very well trained in our specific area and have really deep knowledge that not a lot of people do. The general public really doesn't understand the deeper science behind dental disease. So I feel it's our duty to inform our patients of their current state of health in regards to their oral health. But it goes so much further than that, because we also know that there's such a deep connection between oral health and health of the rest of the body. For example, we know that periodontal disease is connected to conditions like Alzheimer's, diabetes, heart disease, to name a few, and that's because it's an inflammatory condition. And then we also know that inflammation in the body is very dangerous. We know that it causes all of these other conditions that we're listing. And many people in the general public, if you said, is inflammation good or bad? They would probably know the answer is, well, it's bad. But the general public really does not have that deep understanding of how it works And our society, for the most part, really pushes us towards things that are not good for our bodies. And again, a lot of us know that, but we don't necessarily do anything about it. It really goes against the grain of what is traditional and normal in, I guess I'm talking about Western United States culture specifically. I don't know the cultures of the rest of the world too well. I just know where I'm living, and most of my listeners are in the US. I'm in Canada, but similarly, the general public really doesn't know what causes these health problems or how to change their lives to start lessening the inflammation reactions in their body. And they definitely don't think that the dentist is going to talk to them about any of this. They think as long as I don't have cavities, I'm good. And they also might think things that are not true about cavities. So our job, as we know, is education is a big part of our skill set, and our responsibility as dentists is patient education. And for a lot of the times that goes into nutrition advice or overall health advice, depending on how you choose to practice. So I am by no means an expert in the topic of nutrition or fitness or inflammatory responses and inflammatory things in our environments at all. I am probably at the same level as any general person that started to look into it and knows some information. And then I kind of combine that with what we're taught in dental school, right? But I am very inspired every day. And that inspiration comes from working alongside a husband and wife dentist in my practice that personally live a very low toxin, healthy lifestyle. They do their best to create that for themselves and their daughter. And I've learned a lot from them just having conversations. But if you want something that you can personally listen to right now to learn more about inflammation and its connection to dentistry and then to the rest of the body, my episodes, I have 2 with Dr. Katie Lee, would be a great place to start. I will link them below. And you could also check out her book. It's written very intentionally in plain language so that the general public can understand it. But really, that's kind of where my interests peaked for this subject. And it's not all going to be about nutrition. But now that we've kind of cast a sort of shadow on what we will talk about today and why it's top of mind, why I started to be curious about it, learn more about it, starting to implement simple ways of changing my own lifestyle, I really just wanted to put in your mind a chance to think about this topic for yourself and what being healthy means to you and what being a role model for your patients and your community means to you. It might not be anything that I've mentioned so far. That's totally fine because it's a very personal thing for each individual. But I hope that this conversation and topic will help you continue to look into evidence-based science to make your decisions and learning from professionals. And like I said, this isn't necessarily an episode where you're going to learn a bunch of clinical scientific information. I'm very much, I would say, like level 1, maybe level 1.5 beginner at a lot of this health stuff, in my opinion, because I know of so many people that know much more than I do or practice it much stronger than I do. But I think there's so much value in sharing kind of from a beginner stage of still things that I try to do and things that I focus on, and then being honest about areas I'm trying to improve. And I think that's also a way that we can connect with our patients. If we're coming and talking to them about nutrition from an area of, we do all of this in my household and we're so perfect at this and we're superior because of this, and what you do is bad and shameful and terrible, like any of that negativity, it just makes people defensive and feel unpleasant. So there's different ways to go about it. And I feel like if you're connecting with them just on a person-to-person level, that we all know living in today's world, all of the advertisements around us for all the addicting junk food, the convenience food everywhere, and just saying like, I know it's so hard to make these switches and I want to hear about what your life is like, your day-to-day life. here are some of the smaller things that have helped me or have helped other patients in similar situations. Does any of that sound like something you could start implementing with your family? And really just start to make connections with them and be honest about the challenges, because they might be experiencing that too, and that might help them feel a little more validated, but also let them know, like, this is what actually helped, and this is how I got from point A to point B in this journey. And this is when it started to get a little bit easier for us, because we started to get used to the changes and our bodies adjusted from all of our addictions to all these different foods. So being able to connect with them, I think, on the personal level is why it's valuable to talk about all different stages of journeys of trying to be healthier. So that's kind of what I am doing. So for me, I wanted to share some things that I've been working on since my life as a dentist started back in June-ish that have been feasible for me as someone that is working as a single, well, I'm not single, but not married yet person without kids or anything. So since starting work, I pretty much have cut out processed bread products, which is just like one small thing. But for me, that was something I was eating every single morning. I was having either a bagel or toast with whatever else I was eating for breakfast. And I've also switched my eggs to be better sourced so that they're more nutritious. So I personally make my own bagels and bread with sourdough now. So I know all the ingredients going into them. They're very low sugar, and anything that's in there is much more natural, doesn't have those preservatives and everything.
Hey, Fidelity. What's it cost to invest with the Fidelity app?
Start with as little as $1 with no account fees or trade commissions on U.S. stocks and ETFs.
That's music to my ears.
I can only talk.
Investing involves risk, including risk of loss. Zero account fees apply to retail brokerage accounts only. Sell order assessment fee not included. A limited number of ETFs are subject to a transaction-based service fee of $100. See full list at fidelity.com/commissions. Fidelity Brokerage Services, LLC, member NYSE SIPC.
You're the perfect blend of elegance and style, and your ride should be no different. The 2024 Hyundai Sonata Hybrid meets all your needs, from business to brunch and everywhere in between. With head-turning details like a sleek front end, plus stylish interior, and an available 12.3-inch digital instrument cluster and seamless tech integration. Okay, Hyundai. Visit HyundaiUSA.com to learn more about the new 2024 Hyundai Sonata Hybrid.
Overall, it might be one really, really small thing, but that was something I was eating every single day. It was one of my 3 meals, and I've made that into, in my opinion, a healthful meal. It could be better by adding a little bit more color and vegetables into the breakfast, but I'm getting there. And I think I do add color well through other things of like seasonings and fruits. I do good in the morning, but I'm not the best with veggies in the morning. But that's the thing, like there's always going to be ways to improve. So you have to look and give yourself credit for the positive changes that you have made, while also knowing that you have to keep being a little bit uncomfortable in order to keep making progress. So at this point, I would feel I'm very, very much into that routine of one of my 3 meals a day being clean ingredients. And I really feel so much better than I did during undergrad and dental school. Really, those are the only times that particularly matter, because as a child, like living when your parents' home, you don't have as much say in what you're eating. But once I moved out and was in school, as in college and dental school, I was more independent. But I mean, I had no idea of how to cook. I really didn't know how to healthily grocery shop. And now I feel like I have the information. I just don't practice it as well as I should. And I also, another thing that I think has me feeling a lot better is focusing on eating more protein. I overall, since starting work as a dentist, eat a lot more protein than I used to in dental school. My previous diet was very, very, very heavily based in starchy carbohydrates. And I wondered why I felt kind of bloated and lethargic all the time without protein. And by adding in more protein, it's amazing how much more energy I have. And I also feel like I get better results with my fitness routine as well. So it really makes a huge impact with the protein, but that's something that I feel I'm still not the best at. That's another area I'm working to grow, is more consistency with that. And throughout my meals, making my meals a little bit more balanced in terms of kind of the macros going into them. But I feel like I've pretty much solidified that breakfast element in my routine now that it's been almost a year out of school. So it's really just telling myself, okay, I need to stop making excuses and move on to other areas of how I feel my body and improve those as well. So one thing that's going to allow me to start doing that is in this next month. As a Catholic, we have Lent coming up soon. So it's kind of a preparation time before Easter. And we're supposed to fast and sacrifice in order to deepen our faith and turn to God. But it's also essentially a really good opportunity to challenge yourself. And again, that's a liturgical calendar thing, but it's going to start next month in a couple weeks, 1 week actually. So I think my plan is to give up sweets, so direct desserts, candy, chocolate, pastries, etc. I'll still have like my Okios protein yogurt, which are technically like stevia sweetened and things, coffee. As of now, I'm planning I'll still be having occasional like pretzels, types of snacks that I like here and there, even though those do have sugar as an ingredient. So I'm not cutting out any source of sugar at all, or I'll still have natural sugars like in raw fruit. But my goal here is to work to limit added sugars and finding healthier alternatives for the snacks that I eat. So I feel like by going through this period of, it's about 10 weeks. Oh, no, not 10 weeks. How long is it? 40 days, however many weeks that is. But my goal is to get off any of that habit of wanting a sweet during the day when you're tired, or during the day when you finished a meal and you're relaxing with your spouse, you just want like a little treat. I've gotten a lot better at my portion control, and kind of a little bit of something is plenty compared to just like overindulging. I've definitely surpassed that as well throughout undergrad and dental school into now. But even then, I just know that I don't need those things to fuel my body, and overall they're doing more harm than good. So I want to work on continuing to limit that. And I think by just kind of cutting it out, it's going to go through a little bit of a detox phase, but eventually my body won't want it as much. And my microbiome will start to keep resetting and not enjoying those foods at all. So I think we've talked a lot about nutrition already, coming from someone that's really just a normal person with fairly limited knowledge on the subject. But there's so many other elements to health. So I don't want to have an episode about healthy living and not mention these topics. So sleep, mental health, exercise, time outside. I have episodes specifically about fitness and exercise for myself as the routine that I've kind of been working on as a new dentist. I have episodes from dental school classmates who were really, really good about prioritizing their fitness routine. I have episodes about mental health from dentists and from dental students. So any of those, as always, you just want to kind of search Dental Download Podcast, fitness, Dental Download Podcast, exercise or gym or mental health, whatever you want to know. And then those episodes will come right up, is the easiest way to find them. But with dentistry and sleep specifically, sleep medicine has become very intertwined with dentistry these days. And that's another topic that comes up a lot in my office, because one of the doctors practices his circle of dentistry specifically on sleep and TMJ. So personally, when I went through the process of being a patient in the office and going through a screening at my office, through our CBCT scan, I learned that I had fairly large airway restrictions through blockages in my nasal pathway. And I also learned more about proper tongue position for nasal breathing and realized that I do not have proper tongue position for nasal breathing, and also realized more that I mouth breathe and that that's not good, and why that's not good. I feel like unless I just totally did not pay attention to this part of dental school, we did not learn much about airway or about proper breathing from my understanding. So I didn't even realize that I had these issues, and that it could be so connected to why I feel like I get colds a lot because my air is going right through my mouth into my throat, through my tonsils, and causing inflammation instead of going through my nasal pathway and the body's natural filtration. Things like that. And I sleep with my mouth open all night. So that's just happening all night long. But I was even passively mouth breathing. If I was doing chores around the house or something, my lips would be open. I'd be breathing through my mouth and not my nose. And I have improper tongue position. The tongue is supposed to be pretty much the tip of your tongue should be resting near your incisive papilla, if you know your dental anatomy, or not dental, but mouth anatomy. And then your tongue should be pretty much arched along your hard palate, your soft palate up there. Mine pretty much rests like mid of my mouth, and the tip was touching between my top and bottom teeth when I'm in kind of that freeway space, not all the way touching. So I don't clench my teeth during the day, but my tongue is just not in the right spot, and I did not breathe through my nose. So that's the easiest way to describe it via podcast form. I'm going to make a YouTube video about this too, because what I was asking myself was, okay, well, what would the healthiest version of me do about this problem? Well, she would do something about it. She's going to fix it. So that involved myofunctional therapy in a way. I'm not formally in a myofunctional therapy program, but getting some advice from our myofunctional therapist at our office to help with my breathing, tongue position. And then I also went to the ENT that we work with. We put in a referral for me to go get nasal surgery. And I had nasal surgery done in January of this year. And again, I'm going to make a YouTube video about the process and the recovery and the results and before and after CBCTs once I'm all healed up and everything. But I haven't done it yet because I'm definitely still in the healing phase. I'm maybe 7-8 weeks out by now, because it was the first week of January and it's towards the end of February when I'm recording. And it's a bit of a recovery process, and I can still be quite stuffy for a few months after the surgery is typical. And you almost have like a fresh immunity in a way, because they kind of reset all your tissues by cutting everything down. And then once they rebuild, they're kind of all natural again, almost like a baby. So you're even more susceptible to like seasonal allergies or environmental allergens. And I think with the changing seasons right now, that's really provoking things. So I have one of my nasal passages gets very, very blocked lately. But all of that said, I can get unstuffed doing certain things. And I realize that I can breathe so much better once those kind of symptoms of recovering from surgery go away from time to time. I can see that I'm breathing so much better. But I really am one of the more lazy and resistant patients out there, I think. And it's funny because I'm like, wow, like I would not want to be the doctor on the other end of me being the patient, because I just like don't do what they tell me to do. And that's terrible as someone that like is a dentist. But I remember when I injured my knee in high school, I would barely ever do my PT at home. I would only do it when I went to the in-person sessions. And then my knee is still not recovered very well because I didn't put in the work, for example. And I'm lazy about doing the daily breathing exercises that our myofunctional therapist at work has given me. But I think about it sometimes, and I'm someone that truly does understand this and understand why it matters, but I still won't do the work at home. So like, how can we possibly get through to our patients that might be skeptical or they don't fully understand? Like, that is such a big challenge. But those are the kind of challenges and things that full circle relate back to this episode and remind me that I will not grow or improve at anything in life, because you don't, and I never have before, anything that I've gotten better at, whether it's communication skills or dental skills. You have to be uncomfortable. You have to put in the time. You have to put in the work. And I have to want to do it, or just force myself to do it, the discipline. Maybe I don't want to, but I'm going to do it anyways. And I think for me, I really have to be kind of forced into it until it becomes a habit. And then I start to see positive results. And then that will help me keep going and actually build the habit. So I've decided I'm going to lean on my fiance as a bit of an accountability partner to start my breathing exercises again, to really try to improve my tongue position so that I can actually get the most out of the nasal surgery and truly stop mouth breathing. Being able to say to a patient, like, I know it's hard, I know it's annoying, because I feel that way too, and I'm going through it too, but I ended up getting through it. And this is what worked for me. This is when it finally got easier. This is when it finally felt worth it. that's going to mean so much to them because, again, you're connecting to them on a person-to-person level. So not only do I want to make these improvements for myself and my own health, but it will make me a better healthcare provider to be able to genuinely connect with people in that way, that I'm recommending you go through these treatments to improve your breathing. And I've done it too. And I paid for it with my own money and my own insurance plan. Like, it was not anything that was given to me for free, and I still did it, and I put the time and the money in. So this is kind of a roundabout, potentially random seeming episode, but my hope is that you will continue to use the wonderful medical and dental knowledge around you to define what you feel is healthy and make conscious efforts and habits to work towards that ideal level of health. Not only to be healthy and just be a healthy person, but so that we can be the best that we can to serve our patients, our friends, our families, and our communities, and also be a living, walking, relatable, real human example to those people in those same communities that it's possible to make changes. So I hope you all enjoyed this episode. It was a little different than kind of what I normally talk about in solo episodes, but I just thought it would be a fun topic, and it's something that's been really heightened on my mind these days. And as I said, in the next week, I'm going to start working on that sugar cutting out challenge. Again, I don't know exactly to what extent we're going to go. I know certain things I'm not going to have, but I need to decide just how far I'm going to go. Like, am I just going to stop using the creamer in my coffee? Because truly, I probably should, but I only use just a little bit, so maybe it's fine. Of course, you're going to make all those bargains with yourself, and that's something that I'm going through again because I'm still a real person at the end of the day. And as we've said in this episode, that's kind of how you connect and relate to people, is on a person-to-person level. So I hope you all enjoyed this episode, and I will talk to you next Monday.